Hello there, welcome to The Bunker. I'm Lloyd Evans, and boy, do I have a live stream for you. Wow, there's a video that we need to watch together. We need to huddle together for moral support, because we're going to be reminded of what a culty controlling organization Jehovah's Witnesses are. I mean, they can't do anything, it seems, without doing it in a slightly culty way. And this is exactly how we can describe this leaked video, which asks for rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses to audition for parts in video propaganda that is produced by the organization. Bear in mind, they are all about this these days. They absolutely love this new toy that they've created, where they can have their own little Hollywood. At the moment, it's at Mount Ebo and various other locations. There are so many different facilities now, but mostly it's Mount Ebo where much of the filming gets done. They are obviously building the Ramapo complex, which will be closer to the Warwick headquarters. Nice and easy for governing body members to get in the golf buggy. That's all I can assume. Or make the short walk to where the studios are so that they can get in front of the camera and address their adoring followers. But as I've discussed in a recent video, 5 factors that are slowly killing the JW cult, you know, this is a two-edged sword. It gives the illusion of the organization having broader reach, of being able to, you know, express itself more clearly, I guess. But the numbers indicate that in the years since they've started JW Broadcasting, the growth has actually slowed. So you would think if they were going to pour all of this time, effort, resources into these high-quality video productions, you'd think there would be something to show for it in terms of the publisher figures at least going up a bit, or at least staying the same. The fact that, for example, last year we had our first reduction in publishers year on year in 42 years kind of tells you something about, you know, the reality of the impact these videos are having. Anyway, with Ramapo in mind, it seems that the organization is on a recruitment drive, and they are inviting ordinary witnesses to audition for parts in these productions. But as we're going to see, it's not all Jehovah's Witnesses who get to apply. Anyway, let's watch the video, and then there are some documents that I want to share with you. So here is the video. There is Ron Curzon, or as I like to call him, Robo Ron. He is just
We want to thank you.
Oh, shut up, Ron. I'm not ready for you yet. He is like the quintessential kind of emotionless kind of robotic android who just kind of spits out whatever the organization needs him to say. And on this occasion, he is addressing specific Jehovah's Witnesses who have been given a link to this video. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, let's begin.
We want to thank you for taking a moment to consider this invitation to submit your photos and your information to audio-video services. You might wonder why your information is being requested. Jehovah's organization continues to produce videos that teach and encourage. They help to strengthen our relationship with Jehovah and our brothers and sisters. This media helps us to live up to our dedication and be more effective in the ministry. These videos are having a powerful impact on our worldwide brotherhood.
Well, I kind of have to take issue there. I'm just going to pause it. As I've already stated, the numbers themselves indicate that rather than these videos having a powerful impact and helping to boost the figures, in actual fact, the numbers now are less impressive 6 years after JW Broadcasting began than they were 6 years before. So we're not seeing the numbers to support the claims that RoboRon is making here. He says that these videos teach and encourage and help strengthen the relationships of witnesses when it comes to their relationship with Jehovah and their relationship with each other. Are we therefore to understand that you can't have a properly strengthened relationship with Jehovah unless you have these videos? Because what do we then say about Jehovah's Witnesses for the decades before we had this onslaught of video propaganda? Were those people not having a suitably strong relationship with Jehovah or with their fellow brothers and sisters? It just feels like any old excuse is being made to justify something that they want anyway, because it's their shiny new toy, and it gives them a whole new level of prominence. Let's proceed.
In addition, hundreds of videos are being produced each year, requiring many willing participants. To help support this need, qualified publishers like you from around the globe are being invited to help. What qualifications or skills are needed to participate? The purpose of all the videos produced by the faithful and discreet slave is to honor and glorify Jehovah and draw us close to Him. The assistance we need requires spiritual and humble people with a willingness to participate. You have been extended this invitation because your body of elders has indicated that you exhibit these qualities in your daily life.
Now, isn't that interesting? This invitation has been extended. In other words, the whole reason why you're watching this video is because your body of elders approve of you. So elders are more than ever the gatekeepers when it comes to opportunities within the organization. They get to decide ultimately whether a Jehovah's Witness gets to see this video and receives this invitation to send in an audition. So if an elder has a beef with you, if you've ruffled a few feathers in your elder body, or there's any kind of axe to grind there, you're probably not going to receive this invitation. And as we're going to see, it's not even as simple as whether your elders like you or not. There are whole congregations, at least at the moment, that won't be receiving this video. But just fascinating how elders are getting, it seems, more and more power in the extent to which witnesses can fulfill their sacred service. Because we learned in, was it the March JW broadcasting episode, that acting for these awful propaganda videos is a form of sacred service. So elders are the gatekeepers when it comes to how much you can serve Jehovah.
We understand that by participating, you are not looking to be in the limelight. You are simply making yourself available to be used by Jehovah in this aspect of sacred service. But many may feel they don't qualify or would be the last person capable of assisting. Do you feel that way? Well, we have good news. You don't need specialized training or previous acting experience. And this should not surprise you.
It definitely doesn't surprise me. It would have surprised me, RoboRon, if you'd said you do need acting experience. That would have surprised me. If they were expecting rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses to sign up for acting classes, that would have surprised me. But the fact that for these video propaganda productions that you're making, requiring volunteer cast members that you're not paying, the fact that you don't need them to have acting skills comes as zero surprise. But Roboron is now going to regale us with all of the reasons why acting skills aren't required.
The scriptures show how Jehovah qualifies faithful servants to do his will. Bezalel was a lowly brickmaker, but Jehovah's Spirit made him a master craftsman who assisted in building the tabernacle and all the implements of worship. Jeremiah, though inexperienced, was empowered by Jehovah's Spirit to fulfill a difficult assignment. The same is true today. Whatever Jehovah or his organization asks us to do, we can be confident in the guarantee found in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 5. Our being adequately qualified comes from God.
Isn't this an interesting verse for them to be sharing? They've just said, whatever Jehovah or his organization asks us to do, we'll be given the tools to do it. So who gets to decide whether Jehovah has asked someone to do something? Can I not make that decision? Oh, Jehovah has appointed me to judge and condemn the organization. You can't argue against that, because how can you prove that Jehovah hasn't said that? This is the whole problem with this line of reasoning. And I kind of alluded to this in a recent rebuttal. The more you lie, the more your lies start to contradict each other. We saw this in the April rebuttal, where they showed the video of Jeremiah receiving his commission direct from an angel, which contradicted what Tony Morris said in the 2020 annual meeting when he said that the first century Christians needed a governing body. Turns out they didn't quite need one, though, if angels were directly handing out instructions. And what does this verse say? Our being adequately qualified comes from an organization, comes from a governing body. No, comes from God. So it's apparently God who gets to dispense these assignments or dispense these roles to people. There's no need for any intermediary, overarching authority. Thanks, by the way, for the super chats that are coming through. Becky, wow, thank you so much for your super sticker. I'm not sure it's showing there, but in any case, thank you. And you also had this stuff about, was it Bezalel and the tabernacle? Bezalel was a brick maker, and he got special powers to build the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle. And Jeremiah got special powers as well. Hang on, we're talking here about Old Testament stories? So you're saying that sort of stuff should be expected in the 21st century, even though you've published countless articles saying that we shouldn't expect that sort of thing anymore. We shouldn't expect, miraculous healing powers or that sort of thing. Again, the more you lie, the more your lies are going to contradict each other. And Roboron here is giving all of these excuses as to why anyone can apply, regardless of what skills they have, not thinking about the fact that what he's saying has broader ramifications outside of his kind of short-term goal of persuading just about anyone who's a Jehovah's Witness that they can be a fantastic actor in the propaganda productions that he is overseeing.
What happens when you submit your pictures and basic information? Once you have submitted your information, you will be included for possible consideration for an audition in the future. An audition is usually not related to a specific project, but is designed to help us to get to know you as an individual for potential use as more videos are requested. Once submitted, your information will be treated as confidential, and only authorized individuals will have access to it.
Oh, I love this. Don't worry about your private information. And by the way, we're soon going to see what information they're asking for. It's quite probing, the sort of information they want. Don't worry. We're going to make sure that your confidential information is only seen by authorized persons. Oh, well, that's a relief, Robo-Ron. As long as these are authorized persons, people that the governing body has authorized, we don't know who they are, but as long as they're authorized to deal with my personal data and use it however they wish, including in ways that may be detrimental against me, as long as they're authorized, we'll say no more, Robo-Ron. Let me divulge my life story to you and all of my personal private information, including information about my state of health, as we're going to see, because at least I know it's all going to be dealt with by authorized persons. Why didn't you say? Why is anyone concerned about their use of data if it's authorized persons that are dealing with it? What were we all concerned about?
We ask that you...
Sorry, I should just thank some of these super chats that are coming through. Thank you so much, Barry Roberts. And thanks also to Nicole Mort Parker. Thank you, Lloyd, for your hard work and exposing the real truth. But both Barry and Nicole are patrons, so thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the live stream. Now, where were we, Robo-Ron?
Please keep this invitation confidential as well.
Okay.
Since not everyone in your congregation will receive an invitation.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Not everyone in your congregation will receive an invitation. Ooh, do tell more.
With that in mind, please do not share the email, the video links, or details with anyone outside of your immediate family living in your household.
Oops, it seems I've shared the video with over 1,000 people who are now watching. Oopsie, carry on.
Jehovah's people are being strengthened and unified by means of the many videos we receive from the faithful and discreet slave. The first step of submitting your information is an essential part of making all these videos become a reality. Yes, it's a beautiful privilege to have the opportunity to assist Jehovah's organization in this way, and we are pleased to extend this invitation to you. We greatly appreciate your willingness to give it prayerful consideration.
I will give it prayerful consideration. Thank you, Robo-Ron. So yes, what a fascinating little video. And again, nothing kind of too extraordinary about soliciting auditions from members of an organization. That's kind of quite mundane, isn't it? But they can't do that without being culty. They can't do the most simple thing without giving some clue as to how, totalitarian this whole thing is. It's at this point that we should perhaps look at some of the documents, because this leak wasn't the leak that we received at JW Watch wasn't just this video. It was a number of documents as well, and I've been careful to redact some information that could get our source in trouble. Just bear with me one moment. What should we look at first? I think we should look at Letter to Body of Elders first. Here it is. Can we read that? Is that suitably large? Should I expand it a little bit? How's that looking on the screen? That's readable, isn't it, viewers? Okay, it's a little bit more. So anyway, you can see there, it's JW Studios LLC. Ooh, LLC. So it's a proper company now, isn't it? Things are getting serious for JW Studios of 100 Watchtower Drive, Patterson. To selected, this is interesting, selected congregations in the United States. Okay, so it's selected congregations in a selected country. Okay. Locating approved publishers for theocratic video projects. Approved publishers, where are you? The elders will locate them. They will identify them. Dear brothers, there's a growing need for approved publishers to assist as actors or extras in theocratic audio-video productions. In order to meet these needs, a new and exciting teaching committee initiative has been set up to locate publishers for general self-guided auditions. We're happy to inform you that your congregation has been selected to participate. Oh, isn't that interesting? So, a congregation has been selected to participate. So, on what basis was a congregation selected and another congregation perhaps not selected? That's what I'd like to know. What are the parameters here? What does it take to not be selected as a congregation, I wonder? Interesting. Please carefully read this letter and follow the directions. Please complete the following steps in order they are listed. All elders, in order to better understand what is involved, we ask that each elder please watch the video that will be shared with approved publishers. Well, we've just watched that, haven't we? Then it's Congregation Service Committee, and for those of you who don't know, a congregation service committee is comprised of 3 elders, the coordinator of the body of elders, the secretary, and the service overseer. So we're talking 3 elders in a congregation. These are being tasked with this checklist here. Identify approved publishers, prayerfully review all exemplary, there's that word, exemplary baptized publishers. Oh, and their minor children. The elders are having to review the children, the kids. Okay. Nothing untoward there. Using the guidelines noted on page 3, then use the attached approved publisher list PDF template to create a list of all publishers in your congregation who qualifies to be included. Make a nice list. Make a list of all the super duper ones that you can recommend and their children. The ones that you can recommend because they're exemplary, or I assume because their parents are exemplary. We're not really expecting the kids to be exemplary, are we? So the kids get a free pass, I assume, based on how great the parents are. Okay, fair enough. Nothing culty here. Just a list of who's good and who makes it, who makes the cut. Provide invitation to approved publishers, so the elders reach out to the person. They email the attached publisher invitation PDF, which we're going to look at. And publishers should be directed to inform the secretary once they submit their information and photos. Okay, information and photos being passed on to an organization that has overarching power to impact on people's personal lives. But don't worry, we've already learned this data is being handled by authorized persons, so it's all okay. It's all good. These are authorized persons. We're not talking unauthorized persons here. They don't just go out into the street and randomly hand out the data to just random people walking down the street. They make sure it's authorized persons. Please endeavor to follow up and encourage the publishers who are approved to follow through and submit their information and photos. Yes, hound the people that you've invited, because we want to know how appreciative they are of this invitation. It's not just a case of letting them know about it and just leaving it with them. Please follow up and encourage publishers. Oh, okay. Little bit of coercion there. Is it just me? Oh, dear. Inform audio-video services of approved publishers. Yeah, so the names get passed on with or without consent, apparently, of the people who've been chosen. Once the publishers confirm with the secretary that they have submitted their information via the FormStack survey, the secretary should edit the approved publisher list PDF template accordingly by deleting those publishers who chose not to submit their information. Oh, that will be an awkward conversation, won't it? No, Brother Elder, actually, I don't want to be involved in these propaganda productions. Oh, really? Okay, I will have to delete your name from my good list. Oh dear, you know what, I'm just going to scroll down. I think we get the gist of this. Lots of data flying around, lots of kind of, yeah, it's cringy, isn't it? But here are the guidelines for determining who to include on the list of publishers approved by the Congregation Service Committee. Oh, spiritual qualifications. Please note that spiritual qualifications, not secular experience, are what qualify a publisher. Previous acting experience is not required. Again, it would have been a surprise if the opposite was true, but anyway, nevertheless, carry on. When determining who will be approved, please use the definition of exemplary. I've spoken about this many times, viewers. There are multiple ranks within even the rank and file. Well, I say multiple, there's two, really, in this context. There's exemplary and there's not exemplary. Not to be confused with in good standing. So a publisher who's in good standing is simply someone who isn't disfellowshipped. I think including those who've been reproved after they've served their restrictions, I think they're in good standing too. Basically, anyone who's not disfellowshipped is in good standing. But exemplary is another matter entirely. Exemplary means you are following everything that's expected of you to the letter, including, for example, shunning anyone you should be shunning. So it's possible to be a Jehovah's Witness and not shun disfellowshipped family members. That it's not a disfellowshipping offence in itself if you're not shunning a disfellowshipped family member. It's just that you won't be exemplary. So this special word exemplary is spelled out here in the organised book. An individual who is exemplary is someone whose conduct and worship are considered worthy of imitation. His or her meeting attendance, share in the ministry, family life, choices of entertainment, dress and grooming, and so forth are good examples for others. So you can see where this is going. Elders are basically to be scrutinising members of the congregation in all of these different areas to decide whether they make it onto this super duper list of exemplary publishers who are being sort of volunteered almost for this this special privilege of service. This is interesting. Publishers who have been reproved within the last 3 years or those who have been reinstated within the last 5 years should not be recommended until this time has elapsed, even if they are currently considered exemplary. So this goes back to what I was saying about good standing. They may be in good standing, but they may even be considered exemplary, as it says there. But there's again this kind of, how can I put this? There are different tiers of rank and file. In this case, if you have had any kind of judicial action and there hasn't been sufficient time passed, you don't get to be considered for this special sacred service that they've devised, which for me negates the entire concept of forgiveness. And let's remember, this is an organisation that is so fastidious about forgiveness that they require a child sex abuser to be forgiven by their victim, and they require their victim to treat them as a brother or sister in the congregation. That's how fastidious this organisation is when it comes to forgiveness. If the elders can be convinced that you're sorry, that you're repentant, then okay, the slate's been wiped clean. But in this instance, when it suits the organization and their needs, the slate isn't completely clean, is it? The slate isn't completely clean until 3 years after the approval or 5 years after the reinstatement. Isn't that interesting? When it suits the organization, they get to say, well, okay, he's repentant, but we'll leave it a bit. We'll give it some time, if you don't mind, when it's the organization and when it's one of their super duper projects, whether it's Bethel or whether it's appearing in video propaganda. But when it's ordinary rank and file publishers, the forgiveness is instant. You have to instantly forgive as soon as they're announced as having been reinstated. Double standard. Double standard. In the organization's benefit. Neither would it be appropriate to submit recommendations for publishers if their use in a video could cause problems or controversy in the congregation or circuit. However, please do not exclude any publisher unless they do not meet the above-mentioned spiritual qualifications. They really want as many as possible on this good list that they're devising. So apart from everything that we've just listed, you know, if someone's dress and grooming is all over the place, if someone's watching the wrong entertainment, they're not exemplary. You know, apart from all of that, they want as many people on this list as possible. That becomes very clear as you read on. There's a provision there for, because they're listing people by households, so that the good list, I'll think of a better name eventually. The nice list isn't names of individuals, it's names of households, as we're going to see, with the name of the head of the household in the left-hand column and any extra names in the right-hand column. And so this is a provision for people who are members of the household to also be kind of added on. There's an ageist provision here. If you're over 65 years of age, you basically won't be considered unless you happen to be married to someone who is under 65, and in that case you get to squeeze through the door on their coattails, basically. Please note, please do not approach publishers beforehand to ask if they wish to be involved. We would like publishers to first receive their invitation email, watch the video, so they need to opt out of it, basically. It's not something you opt into, it's something that you get volunteered for and have to opt out of, essentially. All publishers, all approved publishers should receive the attached email invitation. Please don't announce it from the platform, and this is apparently to stop those not approved from becoming disappointed. And then there's a whole bunch of frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions. As though we're being inundated with these particular questions. These aren't just questions that we've devised. I think they missed the point there a little bit of what frequently asked questions means. What if a publisher cannot open the FormStack link? Help them, please assist them. What if a publisher has additional questions about the audition? They can contact the remote video team assigned to work with your congregation by email at, and I think we've redacted that. What will happen if a publisher qualifies at the present time but does not qualify in the future? If in the future a publisher from your congregation is being considered to participate in an actual video project, your congregation service committee will be contacted again to ensure the publisher still qualifies. Because he might not qualify, he might have gone and watched a naughty film, or he might have worn some tight pants, in which case he no longer qualifies, does he? He needs to have freeness of speech. Yes. Everyone other than the governing body needs to have freeness of speech. What if a publisher, due to physical or health matters, is limited in what they're able to do? While the majority of work associated with video production requires energy and physical stamina, certain physical or health limitations may not necessarily prevent an individual from being invited to participate. And that's the letter that goes to the elders. Let me just take some comments. This is all... I realise there's a lot to talk about here, isn't there? I suppose I should take a few comments. Frequently asked questions should include, does this make you uncomfortable, says Foam Tuber. Indeed. Okay. If you opt out, you're no longer in good standing. Yeah, well, I can't see it going well for you, quite frankly, if you have that conversation, if you go to the elder and say, actually, you know, me and my family don't want to be considered for this. That is, at the very least, going to raise some eyebrows, isn't it? And having been an elder myself, I can see that being raised in future conversations on other subjects. Oh, you do realise he opted out of the special privilege of service when it comes to videos. Just more ways that witnesses can be pressured, isn't it? Let me just scroll up quite considerably. Where are all the scriptures to support their rules, says Candy. Indeed. That's a very good point. Well, there can be none, can there? So much of this stuff, like what I was saying about forgiveness, how do you possibly support that with a scripture? Well, you're forgiven, but when it comes to serving the organisation in various capacities, you're not quite forgiven. At least not for a few years. Lloyd, how about doing an interview with XJW actors? Well, this is the problem, of course. And I don't know whether this is what you allude to, Freddie. But the more people you drag into this little project that they've got, this little vanity project of creating video propaganda, the more people you drag in, the more you increase the risk that one of these individuals is going to wake up. And when they do wake up, when they do leave the organisation, when they do become an outspoken critic, what they have to say has so much more weight and is so much more credible because you featured them in a high-definition video production. And we haven't quite seen that happen yet. I mean, I'm aware of one or two instances where people have perhaps been extras, or they've been in the background, or they've appeared for a few split seconds. I'm not aware of any cases yet where, like, a leading role, someone in a leading role has defected. But come on, it's only a matter of time until it happens. And it's one thing to be kind of confining all of this to Bethelites, which I think is mostly what they've been doing so far. But to throw the doors open to the congregations, or at least certain congregations that have been arbitrarily selected, to throw the doors open to ordinary rank and file publishers, come on, you know, this is going to end in tears eventually. And it's going to accelerate that situation where I do get to interview someone who's had a leading role in one of these video productions. But they can't see it that way. They can't foresee the calamity, to quote whatever verse that is, because they're so narcissistic, because they believe Jehovah is on their side, and this is just something they want, and to hell with what the ramifications are. They're just determined that they want this. They want their Ramapo. And in order to justify Ramapo, and to a degree to justify Mount Ebo, because Mount Ebo is a huge complex, you know, to justify how much money and how many resources they are hurling at this, they need to be sustaining a deluge of content. And a deluge of content requires a deluge of talent, quote unquote. And I use that word very loosely in the context of untrained actors. They need a deluge of people to get in front of the camera. And it's going to end in tears, isn't it? You can just see it happening. Someone defecting from one of these roles. Are you exemplary or are you exemplary? Exemplary, yes, multiple levels. Nice to see you, by the way, Jexit. Thought they said Jehovah forgives and doesn't keep score. Yeah, it's such a double standard, isn't it? It's so hypocritical. One rule for the ordinary rank and file when it comes to forgiveness, another rule to the organization when it comes to filling roles. Some great comments here, by the way. And 1,160 watching. That's fantastic. Foam Tuber says they all know how to act. The Watchtower tells them how to act and what to say. Thinking is not required. That's very true. I guess a certain degree of acting is intrinsic in being a Jehovah's Witness, isn't it? To the point where in the April broadcast we had Samuel Hurd telling witnesses that they have to exude pleasantness and they have to, even if they're not in a good mood, they have to be happy all the time. So acting seems to be part and parcel, doesn't it, of being a Jehovah's Witness. Okay, now let's look at the letter that goes out to Jehovah's Witnesses who've made it onto the nice list. Publisher invitation, there we go. How's this looking on the screen? That's okay. That'll do. Where are we? Okay. So again, JW Studios, LLC. Nothing corporate about this. Invitation to submit information for Theocratic Video Projects. Dear friends, we're all friends here. Friends share things. Friends share information and photos. Including photos of children. But we'll get to that. Oh dear. We're pleased to inform you that your body of elders has approved for you to receive this confidential information from us and put you on a secret list. Why are you being given this invitation? The positive impact of audio and video programs in our lives, as well as in our ministry, has been felt worldwide. Have you felt it? On an unprecedented level. To meet the growing need for actors or extras to support future projects, publishers in congregations across the branch territory are being asked to provide information for our records. We are happy to invite you to participate in supplying information for our records. Who does this invitation include? This invitation is for you. Your elders will inform you if any immediate family members, such as your kids, are approved to participate as well. These would only include family members who are Jehovah's Witnesses living in your household who attend the same congregation as you. Prior acting experience is neither required nor expected. Again, how is that remote? You don't even, that's a superfluous statement. It's redundant. Genuine love for Jehovah and the brothers, as well as humility, such as the humility that we routinely see shown by the likes of Stephen Lett and Tony Morris. And Samuel Hurd in the April broadcast, where he chastised witnesses for not using the correct field ministry presentations to the point of putting on a demeaning, whiny voice to impersonate them. That sort of humility is what they're looking for. These are the most important qualities for participating in audio-video projects. How do I, or we, participate? Click on the link. So I think the link will take them to the video, I'm guessing. After viewing the video and giving prayerful consideration to this invitation, if you're willing to participate, please submit your information and photos, including photos of your kids, if that's what we're asking you for, through the link below. We ask that one form be submitted for each individual included in this invitation. If possible, please submit your information no later than 2 weeks after receiving this invitation. So there's a time limit. Hurry on, chop chop. let's get these photos sent, please. Whether you submit your information or if you choose to not participate, please inform the secretary of your decision. Again, it's something you have to opt out of. We've opted you in, you need to opt out. Once we receive your information, we will reach out directly as additional assistance is needed. And they're also asking each baptized publisher who does this to create a my.jw.org profile if you do not already have one. So all publishers, all Jehovah's Witnesses, unless they expressly state otherwise, which comes with strings attached, you know, in terms of how they'll be viewed and what privileges they'll get, all Jehovah's Witnesses have to go on their database. All of them. It's called Publisher ID. We did a Watchtower in Focus, now called JW Watch, about it, based on when we first heard about the whole thing. But being a Jehovah's Witness comes with having a digital profile on their database. And here again is an example of how, in order to receive a special privilege of service or sacred service, you need to give them your data. You need to surrender your data. And if you don't already have a my.jw.org profile, make sure you have one. And here is the information. So what sort of data do they want? But let's not worry too much about this, because we've already established only authorized persons get this data. So it's not just any old schmuck on the street. They're not sending out planes and leaflet dropping communities with this personal information. It's being handled by authorized people, so we know it's all legit. No harm can come. Types of information we request include contact information, family relationships, which we may sever at some future point if you stop believing. Physical characteristics. Ooh, that's oddly specific, isn't it? Please give us your physical characteristics. Okay. History of spiritual privileges. Okay, so they want the cream of the crop, or they want to be able to choose the cream of the crop. Skills, education, hobbies. Well, education's an interesting one, because you're limited, aren't you, really, when it comes to how much education you can have as a Jehovah's Witness. And hobbies, well, we learned in the April JW Broadcasting episode that mundane activities should be dispensed with in favor of serving the organization. So that's an interesting one to ask for. Health details pertinent to being used in an audio-video project. Yeah, just give us a bit of your medical data, if that's okay. But don't worry. Authorized persons only will be looking at it. High-level availability. I've never heard this expression before. No one has said to me, Lloyd, what's your high-level availability? I'd be like, do you mean my availability? No, I want your high-level availability. Maybe that's an official term. Can we check that? Two photos of each individual who is included in this invitation. So they want a headshot, and they want a side shot, full body, head to toe, visible in photo. And we've learned from the elder's letter that this can include children. It's kind of chilling, isn't it? Given what we know about this organization and their handling of child abuse. And they're basically inviting full body, I mean, obviously not naked, but full body photos of children to go on their records. So you could conceivably have, being held by the same organization, photos of a child that have been submitted by their parents thinking, oh, this is their shot at fame. and in a different part of the database, details of the person who's molested them. You could conceivably have that. In fact, it's almost inevitable that that will be happening, that there will be examples of that. Cell phone camera is sufficient for taking the photos. Well, damn well should be, shouldn't it? And yeah, as a final reminder, please remember that this is confidential. Please do not forward the email or links, nor discuss this invitation with anyone outside of your family or the elders. We deeply appreciate your prayerful consideration of this invitation. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact the remote video team assigned to work with your congregation by email at, and we have redacted the email just to make double sure that it's not a specific email that could end up exposing our source. So yes, and before I go back to the comments, I thank you, by the way, to Zachary Burns for your super chat. Maybe the question about education is a trick to weed out those with too much invested in this old world. Maybe, Zachary. Before I kind of go back to the comments and start wrapping up, let me show you the nice list, as I'm now calling it, formerly known as the good list. Let's see here. Where is it? There it is. Share. So this is the nice list. Audio video services approved publisher list. Congregation name, congregation number. Again, we've learned that only specific congregations are being included in this, at least for now. Please group families together is at the top of the form. And then on the left, you have presumably the head of the household, because Jehovah's Witnesses are a very patriarchal religion, and the husband is considered the head of the household. So he goes in the left-hand column, and in the right-hand column, where it says comments if needed, they list the wife and the kids. Again, all of whom have been opted into this, and they have to opt out if they don't want any part of it. And that will surely start to raise flags with elders. Oh, why don't you want any part? Why don't you want your kids to have a part to play in this avenue of sacred service? Creepy. It's creepy, isn't it? Am I the only one, viewers? Let's get some reaction. Sorry, I can't audition because I'm too busy going door to door. No, you have to remember, Daniel, this is a new way of sacred service. So just like door-to-door preaching is sacred service, appearing on cult propaganda is now kind of on a par with. In fact, I don't know how that would work in terms of counting time, but it's at least to be considered along those lines. It's a form of sacred service. Deborah D says, thanks, Lloyd, for your videos. It keeps me in touch with what propaganda my JW family are hearing. I wonder if they will be in a video soon. It wouldn't surprise me. Indeed. Well, Chicks Rule says, creepy AF. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Chicks Rule. M and K say very creepy. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one. To me, it just seems like there's any number of ways that this system can be abused. I mean, just the very fact that kids are being opted into this by the elders. And I was thinking as well, reading that form, you know, the defense that they were using at ICSA, we're not an organization that separates children from their parents. Well, what if the elders are recommending that children in a family be used? And what if those children do end up being separated from their parents due to being involved in a project, you know? That kind of stood out to me a little bit as well. Elaine Robertson says perhaps they know it's creepy and that's why they're keeping the letters private. Well, they certainly don't want everyone to see them, do they? And that's backfired because when you have such a culty organisation that's so controlling and is ruining so many lives, including the lives of the rank and file, you're going to get this stuff leaked out. It's just going to happen. And it's happening. This stuff is being leaked out by people who were asked to keep it private because they know it's wrong. And they're not okay with this. And they can see how this arrangement can be abused or is already, posing all sorts of questions about what sort of an organization this is. Are elders going to audition? That's an interesting one. I mean, presumably elders get to recommend themselves. I can't see how they wouldn't, because they're asking for everyone in the congregation who is exemplary. And by definition, an elder would, we assume, be on that list of exemplary publishers. So I think that's just a given that elders would also be on the list. Becky says, do they need to follow usual filming rules like breaks for kids, limits on time they can be on stage, schooling provided? Well, I suppose they would have to answer that question, but my guess is they will do the bare minimum. And perhaps I'm being unfair. They obviously throw a lot of resources at this stuff, and maybe they do have meals, have good catering or whatever, and filming breaks. Maybe they do all of that. It wouldn't surprise me if they do, in fact, do all of that. But what's all of this for? It's cult propaganda. It serves the leaders. It's not like it's something that can really go on your CV, is it? If you're a child actor, I was in a drama about a Bible character. Oh, really? When did it air? Didn't exactly air. It was on jw.org. Oh, okay. I mean, who knows? Maybe that would look good on a CV for some producers or directors, but I can't see it going down too well. It's ultimately all for the benefit of the organisation, isn't it? David Carey says they're going to have photo IDs and addresses and phone numbers and locations. Oh dear. Ba-boom. Ba-dum. So yes, lots of red flags there. Boy, are they going to be mad at this getting leaked, says Up Mayo. Well, I hope so. They almost certainly will be. But again, it's inevitable that this sort of material will be leaked when it's wrong, when there are issues, when there are serious concerns. And I believe there are. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hindsight POV says the JW organization thrives off of secrecy. Indeed. Well, it's a level of secrecy. It's secrecy for them to do whatever they like with data, isn't it? When they appoint someone as an authorized person on a particular piece of data, it's secrecy within that very arbitrary ring of secrecy, if that makes sense, that can be expanded or condensed according to their whims. But I think that's mostly it. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to share about this audition video. Let me know what you think in the comments. There are now 1,200 on the live stream, which is fantastic. I've noticed these live streams have really shot up in attendance, and that's really nice to see. I hope you found this material interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any concerns about what you've seen, I'd be fascinated to read those later. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos. I hope you all have a wonderful day and or evening. And yes, I'll see you